Every once in a while comes along something I'd call a masterpiece. Power Rangers RPM, Fallout New Vegas, the Masterpiece set for Magic the Gathering. Each of these subjects in media are fantastic, but they have their flaws. Whether it be inconsistent writing, an overstayed welcome, or happenings behind the scenes. And yet, I wouldn't hesitate to call each of these a masterpiece. I wouldn't hesitate. That's the beauty of having an opinion. Everyone has a voice in saying something, and at the end of the day, the only opinion that should matter is yours. I've never been this anecdotal before, so there must be a reason for it. In any other history of Kamen Rider, I'd be talking about episode 1 after the second opening sentence. However, you're gonna notice a theming of change and maturity throughout this video, starting with this opening narration. As History of Blade had more of a focus on talking about the story, what I'm gonna get into here is more of my personal thoughts than before. I believe this season deserves to have a lot said about it, and hopefully you're okay with that. I've mentioned in the previous video that Kamen Rider Blade had really tough production issues, struggling in viewership and facing harsh criticism in its first half. The second half picked up and has what I considered the best ending in any Toku season, but it was too late. Blade had changed, but it wasn't enough. Toei needs to have something different in the next season. Unfortunately, that season didn't start with Kamen Rider. Or did it? Henshin Ninja Arashi is a creation of the late Shotaro Ishinomori. A reboot of it was under consideration to come after Blade, but within early production, Toei decided to keep it connected with the Kamen Rider name. This reboot was originally going to be called Henshin Ninja Arashi Prologue, Messenger of Shikigami, then it got changed to The Hibiki Hero, which then became Ongeki Rider, and finally, Kamen Rider Hibiki. In a way, Hibiki wasn't supposed to be a Kamen Rider show. In other ways, it was already a Rider show from the point where the reboot came from Shotaro Ishinomori. We don't have confirmation on if Hibiki was just a reboot or a Rider show from the start, so these are just rumors. Not even I know if there's some truth in this, but it does seem plausible as we'll see in what happens later. For now, keep this question in mind. What makes a Kamen Rider show a Kamen Rider show? Hibiki is a different kind of season, as you can see with this. Maybe a bit too different for some. Following Ishinomori's last wish, this is how the show starts, by the way. The focus is on Osamu Adachi, a middle school student who is going to visit family with his mom on Yaku Island. On their way there, Osamu notices a strange man sing about dolphins. Once on the island, the man uses a wired phone to call Tachibana's sweet shop, run by the Tachibana sisters, Hinaka and Kasumi. No relation to Tachibana-san. Osamu and his cousin go sightseeing in the forest when the man joins them. He introduces himself as Hibiki. Just Hibiki. Apparently, he's well trained. Two human-like figures in robes attacks them, so Hibiki takes out a tuning fork, hits it against a tree, and we see a sigil on his forehead, having Hibiki transform into Hibiki. Then the figures also transform into monsters who are part of our villain group of the season called Makamo. And that's about it for the episode. Doesn't seem like very much, huh? Let's break it down. The Kamen Riders in Kamen Rider Hibiki aren't called Kamen Riders. They're Oni, which translate to Japanese demons. The Makamo are a general term for countryside demons. They come in pairs, a doji and a hime, along with their child who are giant monsters, or kaiju. The doji and hime are created by cloaked figures called the Black Puppet and White Puppet. You may be noticing that I'm keeping things more vague and simple than I usually do. It's really difficult for me to discuss Hibiki in the way people are used to, so please understand that for the sake of writing this script, I'm gonna need to dive way deeper while skipping quite a bit at the same time. I said that I kept things more simple, but that's mainly because Kamen Rider Hibiki is simple, at least on the outside. Check out these visuals. A school band is playing. Osamu is watching with interest through a window. Normally, it'd be a couple of establishing shots, nothing special, but this scene is taking its time. A few seconds feels like minutes, then a cymbal is dropped. Osamu hits the window. Osamu's dream is to be in a brass band as a drummer, so seeing someone mess up in a role he wants annoys him. Yeah, I talked a bit about something that only lasts some minutes, and this is only a minor piece from the opening of the show that happens right after the musical number, and there's still more. On Yaku Island, Osamu has dinner with his family, though we figure that something is wrong. His family is having a good time, but Osamu is quiet, nervous. Then there's a visual cue of the colors fading away, not to have an artsy decision for the audience, but to add to the atmosphere and anxiety that Osamu is feeling. In another episode, Kasumi thinks that Hibiki revealing he's an Oni to Asumu is a mistake, considering Asumu's already under pressure in school and could hurt his mental health, especially before exams. It explains why Asumu has been anxious around his introduction to now. It may seem like I'm reaching or looking at this too deeply, but no, this is upfront for us to see, just one notch below what's shown on the quote-unquote outside. There's one moment where Hibiki stays with Asumu for a night and leaves with a goodbye note. Asumu finds him on some rocks and they share a sunrise, ending with Hibiki giving Asumu a compass. Take this as a sign of things to come. As a side note, there's a juxtaposition between the theming of Hibiki and visuals when it comes to the kaiju. We have a nice scene with the sunrise, and in the same episode we have a fight with the CGI spider Kamen. Though we do get one of the coolest finishers I've seen with the power of music. Afterwards, we have a helmetless Hibiki. I say helmetless, but Oni forms are supposed to be how they're shown without masks or helmet, basically like organic monsters, so I guess it's a faceless Hibiki. Either way, this is just another difference from past seasons, and it's great. Following a few episodes, we're introduced to more characters. Ichiro Tachibana, who's the father of Kasumi and Hinaka. Other characters are talked about briefly, such as Zanki and Ibuki. We do get to see Ibuki soon as he delivers something to Hibiki, though Ibuki is confused to what Asumu's relationship with Hibiki is, asking if he's a pupil or if he has anything to do with Takeshi, the organization that supports the Oni. Our proper introduction to Ibuki is in the next episode where he transforms into his Oni form. A young girl watches him fight the Makomo, and he acknowledges her as Akira. Oni camp out in the wild in order to find Makomo, almost like a hunt. Oni also have disciples, or you can call them pupils, followers, supporters, however you want to translate it. Disciples train under the Oni to eventually become one themselves, which is why Akira is with Ibuki. A long time later, we see two men transform to fight Makomo. They are Zanki and his supporter, Toriyama. After the battle, Zanki considers retiring because all the fighting is putting a strain on his body. However, Toriyama doesn't feel confident because he's been relying on Zanki to be there for him. Zanki tells him to trust in himself more, become more independent without Zanki's teaching, even owning up to mistakes. Toriyama gets a Makomo signal, so he's gonna have his debut as a lone Oni. Toriyama successfully fights them off. Zanki congratulates him on a job well done, and the name Zanki will be passed on to him. But Toriyama says he wants a different name to be independent. Zanki tells him to only transform his face because Toriyama is naked. Zanki says that Toriyama should be called Todoroki, just cause it sounds similar to his name. Toriyama, now Todoroki, reluctantly accepts. Summertime comes, causing the Makomo to get stronger because of their ties to Japanese mythology, and how yokai typically appear more during this time. The Oni also train, though Hibiki has trained enough that during a battle, he charges up his technique and bursts into flames, becoming Hibiki Kurenai. Then we start reaching the end with episode 29, Shining Boy. After a series of events, everyone we know regroups at Tachibana's sweet shop. Asumu's mom, Akira, Ichiro, Zanki, Hinaka, Kasumi, Todoroki, Ibuki, Hibiki, and Asumu. It's the end of what I'd call a masterpiece. Kamen Rider Hibiki's first half. But wait, you say, what about the rest? We'll get to that in a bit. For as little as I talked about the story, let me explain why I call this first half a masterpiece. Hibiki is a special kind of show. It's nothing like any other Rider season that came before. In this first part, there's no giant entity that wants to destroy Japan. It's a story of a boy growing up, going through struggles that we've all had, along with the maturity and uncertainty of the people around you. As I talked about before, Asumu is a student that's about to enter high school. He specifically wants to go to a school named Jonan, because he wants to play music there. It was brought up that Asumu knowing about Oni might affect his mental health, but there's more to it than that. Asumu has gotten bullied, he's still very anxious and still feels lost in the world. The only comfort he gets is from hanging out with Hibiki, who is very easygoing and almost being the exact opposite of Asumu. After some words of encouragement to train hard, Asumu studies enough to actually get accepted into Jonan. However, he's still a nervous boy with his heart in the right place. During one moment on a train, he notices a pregnant lady standing while he's sitting. Asumu feels awkward. He knows he should give up his seat and is about to, until Akira does. In another moment of weakness, Asumu witnesses a young couple shoplift at a bookstore and gets caught up in the middle. The boy fights him and it scars Asumu mentally, since we see Asumu have flashbacks to that moment. This wasn't Asumu's fault, but he continues to live through it as best as he can. In a strangely real scene, Hibiki and Osamu have a conversation about girls. During their talk, Osamu kept looking at his side. A woman is standing there and Osamu was staring at her chest. I'll let you piece all that together. It's also not just Osamu who has growth. I briefly said that Todoroki wants to become independent since he relies on Zanki. After officially becoming Todoroki, he plays the guitar after every battle. Ichiro and Zanki thought it was weird to do it since Zanki didn't teach him that way. Zanki says it's not a bad thing, just different. It's Todoroki's way of being an Oni. Episode 28 and 29 is basically the peak of Osamu's growth. He and Hibiki go camping while Osamu is still traumatized over the shoplifting. After some time, Hibiki gives Osamu some advice. There are clear days, and there are rainy days. Osamu lost his phone, Hibiki lost his hat, but being alive isn't all about loss. That's it. That's all he says. Nothing more, nothing less. In parallel, Osamu's mom gives the audience some advice too. When you get into society, it'll be tough. Life is like falling, getting up. It repeats, so you should train. Be well trained, like Hibiki, or train hard, like Osamu. A more personal reason why I love the first half so much is because I truly connect with Osamu. It's not like I know a superhero in real life, but I can relate to almost everything about him, whether it be through what we learn, the people we associate with, or even being hospitalized for the same thing. I can connect with Osamu and still understand Hibiki's distant advice, since I've been told similar things from similar figures. These are just small examples, as this first part is full of genuine moments, and that's not even counting artistic decisions or the small details, such as having kanji flash on screen, or how scenes really take their time to immerse you in a teaching moment, or the beautiful forest scenery that complement the gorgeous Oni suits, or how Todoroki and Ibuki are oblivious to the Tachibana sisters' advances without being really in your face about a love story, or the amazing original soundtrack, or how the Oni constantly work together with Takeshi both in and out of their duties, or the banter between the Oni after a battle, or minor scenes of atmosphere with Osamu and Hibiki, or how everyone has some sort of struggle, big and small, but still have a smile on their face to not make their friends worry. I just love Hibiki so much. This half can do more than what previous seasons have failed to do for me. I can connect with every character, every challenge they have to overcome, every struggle, every smile, every chance to learn, and I don't need to become an Oni to understand. This is why Kamen Rider Hibiki's first half is a masterpiece to me. I know some people won't see what I do, and you know what? That's fine, and I'll keep loving it as not only my favorite toku show of all time, but as my favorite show period. As for everything after that, before I get to the rest, I'd like to quickly shout out this Reddit post by Halloween and Merlet. It's a good read about someone else's passionate opinion that specifically has to do with the retool. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. Now let's get back to it. Episodes always start with a quick recap from Osamu, which I'm surprised hasn't become a meme. It's Orewa Adachi Osamu before Orewa Tenkuchi Takaru became a thing. Episode 30 doesn't have that. We see Osamu biking home when a random boy challenges him to a race. He seems fairly strong. Osamu is slow to understand, but they do race, and Osamu moves out of the way to not hit a dog, although the other boy is happy to win anyway. The boy is a new student, Kyosuke Kirya. He immediately acts like a rival towards everyone and even wants to challenge the teacher. Kirya brings in a caterer for lunch, knows how to play in the school band, beats others at board games, and can draw manga. He then calls Osamu a boring person. Hibiki earlier in this episode gave Osamu advice. Direct words of advice. Later, a Makamo attacks within the city, and Kirya begins to see his father in Hibiki. But the thing is, this isn't Hibiki. Oh, I don't mean in the story sense that we had a fake Hibiki. I mean in the way that this show is not what Kamen Rider Hibiki is supposed to be. Hibiki the character never gave direct advice of, hey, do this. He's a mentor type without realizing it, so he often just told others to train hard while training hard himself. It's why he got Kurenai form, because he lived the way he taught. Osamu didn't need a rival, he was already growing and learning without an opposite person trying to stop him. Even the Makamo seem off. We very rarely, if ever see them in the city. I can only recall one fight that didn't take place in a forest or a cave. The child of the Doji and Hime were usually CGI kaiju, and it was awesome. If really dated, I just appreciated that they tried. Sometimes we got powered up Makomo, but this is out there, especially within Hibiki's world. The first thing I thought when I saw this Makomo was, it's a monster of the week. That's pretty much what earlier kaiju were too, but I was immersed enough that I didn't question it. We later get super versions of the Doji and Hime, yet they weren't necessary either. When I wrote down my notes, I accidentally wrote that a later episode was when things would change. But right here, the first frame of episode 29 was when I noticed that something was off. This is new footage, not from a recap. The colors seem brighter and it just feels wrong. I said out loud, this isn't Hibiki. It no longer feels special. There's no heart. Characters aren't themselves and the ongoing stories aren't what we started with. Episode 31 has Kirya push Osamu to find his own father. When Osamu asks Hibiki for advice, Hibiki tells him to do it and to find answers. The thing is, this show wasn't about answers. It may have been simple, but didn't treat the audience like children, even if they were. The show gave you an obstacle, and allowed the characters, an extension you, to figure it out yourself. Osamu eventually finds his father, but only from a distance and never interacts with him. None of this is ever brought up again. Osamu doesn't learn anything. He doesn't grow. What happened? Where did the uniqueness of Hibiki go? Despite Hibiki being a critical success, being loved by basically everyone, it didn't do well in merchandising, having some of the worst sales figure in Kamen Rider. The previous season Blade already had change. If Hibiki didn't do well immediately, then it would have to change even sooner. Hibiki's first half had a similar production staff as Kuga, which would explain quite a bit. The person helming it all was Shigenori Takatera. His team is what made Hibiki so special, but then the changes came, with Shinichiro Shirakura at the top, along with everyone's favorite writer, Toshiki Inoue. And hey, even Shoji Yonemura felt like putting his fingerprint on here. Fans and critics didn't like the retool, and the new staff even less. A couple of Hibiki actors, including Hibiki himself, spoke out against the changes and weren't invited back for cameos in later seasons. But first, Hibiki gets a new power-up because we need those brand new toys. And the gimmick of the season, the disc animals, are attached to the form, so buy those too. He's given this sword, the armed saber, by one of Takeshi's weapon developers, who was never brought up before and never will again. He's played by Hibiki's singer, Akira Fuse, and the character is really annoying. Although there is this one cute scene where Hibiki asks him to sing another song, so the character says he'll sing Shonen Yo. Actually, let's get to that. Hibiki's opening theme is an instrumental. And it's good. Very good. The music speaks for itself. When the retool came, we got another theme. And it's mediocre. I mean, I like it, I really do, but where did the feeling of hope go? More importantly, we have an ending theme too, Shonen Yo. This is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's a song about moving forward, just like Osamu is doing in Hibiki. There are rainy days, but keep going. It'll get better. I think it works better as a main theme. In fact, it is considered a main theme as the one Hibiki song when shown in a lineup of main writer themes. With Shonen Yo being gone, so is the Hibiki we knew. But there's still more, as we're only at the halfway point.
Hello, Zoni here, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on Kamen Rider Hibiki. Now, where do I begin? Oh yes, the second half is terrible, especially when they introduce Kirya, aka, oh god, I just don't like his character. He's on the same level of hatred that I give to Kusaka, but Kusaka's a little higher for hatred because, well, just read the novel to find out. Kirya, though, why was he added? She was just, oh god. I'm sorry for all you Kyoryu fans out there from Hibiki, but his character sucked. But let's talk about something I really love about Hibiki. The music, the main music theme of the show. As a musician myself, I really loved how they did it with the taiko drums of Hibiki, the trumpet of Ibuki, and the guitar of Zanki and Todoroki. All the elements made sense. The weapons I thought looked cool as heck, especially Shuki's harp. That's one of the main second half things I really liked was I loved the harp design. Like that weapon I thought was amazing. Hands down, I thought that was amazing. One of the best weapons I've seen in a while. But then we get back to the stuff about Hibiki, which was not so good. The opening theme for the first half was, in my impression, amazing. The musical undertones, the different instruments they brought on to have feature, depending on which rider they were trying to focus on, was great. Like it shifted from trumpets to guitar riffs to drums. It was amazing. And then we get to the second half with probably one of the worst opening songs of all time. So much so that basically Shonen-yo, which is the ending theme for the first part of Hibiki, is considered the theme song of Hibiki in a lot of different materials. Most notably, the main song for Heisei Generations Forever, which is a remix of all the opening themes. Yeah, they don't use the second opening theme. They use the ending theme Shonen-yo for Hibiki. I think that's a testament to how bad this opening theme is for the second half. Okay, now let's talk about the movie. The movie I thought was better than the ending of the show. Literally. I enjoyed watching that movie way more than I did the second half of the show, and that's hard for early Heisei Kamen Rider movies. I loved all the additional writers. The evil writer in the movie was amazing. I thought his character was great. I honestly didn't suspect him to be evil. I just thought it worked really, really well, and I wish that was actually the second half of the show instead of the actual second half of the show, because the second half of the show was just a complete, utter disaster. I won't give away any spoilers because I'm sure Marcos goes hand in hand in going through that. I wanted to take a quick look at two of my favorite actors in the show, Kamen Rider Hibiki and Hinaka. Fun facts about both of them, they both have something to do with one of my favorite series, Sailor Moon. Hibiki's actor played Tuxedo Mask in the live-action Sailor Moon. Yes, that's a thing, and that show was interesting as heck. He also made a guest appearance in Kyoryuger. And then we have Miyuki Kanbei, who played Hinaka. She was the third actress to play Sailor Moon in the Sailor Moon musicals. Yes, those are also a thing, and they're amazing. Sadly, however, her actress passed away in 2008 due to heart failure. May you be missed, Miyuki Kanbei. Okay, now that moment of silence is over, let's talk about Adachi Asumu, aka the early Tenkuji Takaru, in terms of Ore wa Tenkuji Takaru, or in this case, Ore wa Adachi Asumu at the beginning of every first half episode. Yeah, that was really annoying. And also, I really don't get why Asumu really was a main character. Like, he could have been like a supporter, but I felt like he was more of a main character than Hibiki himself, which was kind of strange. I just thought it was weird that they focused so much on his school life and that kind of stuff, and not more on the writer. I don't know if that has anything to do with how they did later development, but it's just odd how there was so much focus on like him and his friend. And then we get to the main writer, Kamen Rider Hibiki. I really like the mature adult take they did for Hibiki. It fits his character really well, and it's a nice break from some other writers, especially if you're in current Neo Heisei, which have some being young, like spunky, somewhat reckless. And then you have an earlier Heisei writer, Hibiki, who is mature, who's like a teacher. It's just perfect. It's just a perfect character trait for his writer as a whole. He's a teacher to Asumu. Also, he's a common writer, but mostly he's a teacher. So yeah, I think that's all my thoughts on Hibiki. But yeah, thanks for listening to my kind of long ramble on Hibiki. Now, back to Marcos's take.
As it goes with writer seasons, we got a movie, Hibiki and the Seven Senki, most of which take place in an ancient era. Young girls are sacrificed to the Makamo, so Asamu's ancestor looks to the Oni for help. Most of the film is gathering the Oni, and it's pretty entertaining. The exclusive writers, Kabuki, Toki, Nishiki, Habataki, and Kirameshi, are great for only having a small amount of screen time. The main thing to point out is that it's an origin story of Takeshi and the Oni supporters. If I still made everything right with videos, then this movie would break a record as one of my favorites. A small part of the movie takes place in the modern day, but it's considered non-canon because it shows a different way Hibiki got the armed saber. Though honestly, I prefer how he got it in the movie. By the way, the 7 Senki can be considered a transition point between Hibiki's first and second part, since the staff from the second half worked on this, but you can tell that there's still elements from the first part. Moving on, we pretty much only have a few big points until the end. In episode 34, we have Todoroki and Hinaka with relationship troubles, because look, Todoroki is goofy and clumsy. In the first part, Todoroki was more unsure of himself rather than being outright clumsy. He's messed up a few times, but not to this point. Ibuki and Kasumi also have a small issue shoehorned in that has nothing to do with anything. Then later, Zanki brings up his old mentor that he never mentioned before, named Shuki. An Oni armor has been stolen and, gasp, it was Shuki. Since Inoue wrote this, I'm guessing she's sort of evil and will die. Oh wait, Shuki is bad but sacrifices herself to kill a Makamo. Let's also retread an old character development, as Todoroki, gasp, doesn't want to be independent, so Zanki dies. Now that we're reaching the final episode, we need a big bad, so here's a few mentions of Orochi. Meanwhile, Kira and Osamu want to become Hibiki's disciples, even though Osamu wasn't interested at all until Kira pushed him to do it. What are Akira and Ibuki doing? Nothing. Oh wait, Akira transformed for literally a minute, then never again. And the final battle is here. To seal Orochi, Hibiki must seal his relic. And that's it. 1 year later, everyone has a happy ending. Osamu decides to become a doctor instead of an Oni. Kira's Hibiki's disciple. Who cares about the rest? This show sure doesn't. We do need a climax though, so Osamu's friend gets captured by a Makamo. The Oni go to help, and guess what? Kira can become an Oni. Fun fact, this suit is a combination of suits that came from the original ending, where Kira and Osamu both became Oni. Oh well, it's not like they were writing at the last minute during the final fight. Oh wait, yes they did. They fight the Makamo, we find out that the doji, hime, and puppets were created by a man and woman called the Man and Woman. But that couple was also created by the real man and woman called the Real Man and Woman. Osamu passes out, then he wakes up to Hibiki watching a sunset, just like they did on Yako Island long ago, although that was a sunrise. Osamu quit being Hibiki's disciple in order to become more independent. Hibiki says that Osamu is well trained and will always be his disciple. The end. Roll credits. Thanks TV Nihon. I can't express how disappointed I am in Hibiki's second half. And you know what? I'm even a little mad at the outcome. It's been confirmed that the ending, and to an extent most of the second half, wasn't the original vision. What that vision was, we may never know, but I can tell that the show went in an almost completely different direction. There's a lot more action, more quote-unquote drama that wasn't there before, and characters had become flanderized. Osamu was more than just a nervous kid. He was a real person that learned from his surroundings. But hey, at least he built a doghouse because his father would do that. Osamu's father wasn't a big deal before. Why bring that up now with nothing to learn from? Hibiki used to be the wise mentor who, in reality, just went with the flow and never intended to be a mentor in the first place. But wait, he's actually just as scared as Osamu, so he fights his fears as an Oni. Where the heck did that come from? Another fun fact, there were a couple of Oni that were originally going to be part of the main cast, and that seemed pretty awesome. Too bad they got replaced with Kiryu because Osamu-kun. Oh yeah, and Kiryu is the worst part of the season. He's annoying, mean-spirited, and unnecessary. He didn't deserve to become an Oni. His character was so hated that when his actor was revealed for a future season, people immediately disliked him. Okay, so what if all of this actually came from Takatera's outlines? I'd still be a little annoyed, but not as much, because I know for a fact that it would have been done better. I can see Osamu being somewhat curious about his father, but he'd take different actions and reach a different point. Hibiki's actor said in an interview that Inoue's script needed a bit of work, and I can see it. Things that were never brought up before definitely were from him. It's just... Is there anything I liked from the second half? I liked the ideas. Todoroki's and Zanki's relationship as mentor and student being fleshed out a bit more is great. The execution of the continuation was terrible. I'd be okay with Osamu having a rival if they actually learn from each other. Kiria's just a jerk from beginning to end. Oh wait, he says thanks to Osamu a couple of times. Woo, character development that gets reverted. Shuki and the inclusion of other Oni would have been great too. I was really interested in learning more about them, other than Shuki is bad. I don't need a direct answer about them. I'd rather have them do more than just get defeated time and time again. The action is pretty good, which I would have appreciated more if there was room to breathe between scenes. You can tell they really want to sell those toys. Side note, it's jarring to see the beautiful Oni suits fight inside a city. We'll probably never know what could have been, and in a way, that's in the spirit of Hibiki. Let's wrap this up with my final thoughts. The compass that was given to Osamu in the early episodes has shown up a few more times, but where did it go? When it was given to Osamu, the scenery was beautiful. Where did that go? You can probably tell that I'm very passionate about this season more than I've ever been before. I just care about the first half so much, and there was a lot to say outside the stories. It was a genuine masterpiece of a show. The characters, the smaller insights, the cinematography, the music, the artistic direction. I've seen people say they couldn't get into Hibiki because of how different or boring it was to them, and that's okay. I understand. My wish here is for people to understand how I feel about the show, and possibly give it another shot. Take your time just like the show does, at least until the second half. I've read that people enjoyed the second part more because it felt like a real writer show, but what is a real writer show? It's a shame because I want a season to be different, but we may never get anything like this again due to the poor sales. In the beginning, I asked a question. What makes a Kamen Rider show a Kamen Rider show? Just like Hibiki, I won't give a direct answer, because I don't have a direct answer. All I can say is that Kamen Rider Hibiki is not only a masterpiece, but a true Kamen Rider show to me. With all that being said, I'll see you guys next time when we walk the path of heaven with Kamen Rider Kabuto.